Well, you might be an entrepreneur or a businessman, and you either own a brick and mortar or you're building your business online. Regardless of where you are in your journey, today's conversation is just for you. We have our friend Clay, the head coach of 94X, and we're going to be talking about the importance of getting deeper in community as an entrepreneur and a business person, and just going behind the scenes into that conversation and just hearing also Clay's journey. And I think even Nick has some journey in regards to just getting mentorship and coaching along the way. And we'll get into that conversation. So without further ado, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, follow us along, and get more into the conversation that we're having today. And we're going to be having a very special invitation at the end of this that you can find out more about what we're doing alongside with Clay. Well, Clay, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So I think I overheard a conversation with you and Nick, and you said that you have started in the past, let's say 2-3 decades, 10 businesses. Is that correct?
I have been involved in 10 businesses. I've had startups, I've had businesses I've purchased, I've had businesses I've partnered in with someone else. So yeah, a lot of different variables, but yeah, at least 10 businesses I've been, gosh, actually now that you say that, that's probably 15 now. Now that you're saying that, it's probably 15. And,
great.
Yeah.
And they're all I'm assuming they're all in different industries, different niches and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, all completely different.
And I think if I recall, you have some that you've also sold off, right?
Yeah.
You've taken off.
I had 2 really good exits. So one in a 3D design company and one in a 3D printing company.
Yeah,
Congrats.
that's right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Which is a very, honestly, when I first heard you did that, or you were doing that, that was a very interesting conversation, because I'd never even imagined that you would be doing that, because of the conversations we've been having around 94X and just building community and so on. But so let me ask you this. So
Sure.
as an entrepreneur and businessman, where and when did faith come into the picture for you?
It was early on. It was interesting. So I gave my life to Christ when I was younger, probably 12, something like that, but no discipleship hardly at all. I had a great basketball coach, had me in FCA, and I learned a lot from him. But, as you go through high school and then into college, and if you don't have that community or that discipleship, I had prayer. That's really about all I had. And so after college, I had looked for a church home and had a difficult time, but it wasn't until I was 29 and I had, a strong belief system, a strong belief in God, just no deep understanding. And I wanted to, I've always been a very naturally authentic person and kind of genuine and just open and transparent. And so when I started my business, I was going through this spiritual awakening of just really, really searching really hard to find the truth. And I was building this business. So it was 2 new things to me, but they were very separate. And I didn't think that I could really bring them together. But a lot of my business decisions were based on my spiritual beliefs. And so that kind of left out a lot of my business mentors as far as those conversations and other people in my life that I'd relied on to help out and run things by. They didn't understand the spiritual side. And so I felt wanting and needing and only being able to get half the picture in all these conversations because I couldn't blend the 2. So this was back in 1999, 2000 when I was starting my business. And luckily, I went to a client's office, and as I looked around, I saw they had scriptures on the walls and different things, and it surprised me. I didn't think you could do that, and I thought you had to keep it separate. And so I asked them to stay after a meeting, talk to them about it, and said, "How are you guys doing this?" And so they just invited me in and told me how they were doing it and what was legal, what wasn't, and the switch flicked at that moment. And at that moment, I felt like, I can bring my whole life together and be a whole person and just live authentically and naturally. And so it was then when I was able to bring it into the business. And so I think the first thing we did was, I think it was a morning devotional. So we would start with prayer before our daily meeting, our daily huddle, and then we'd have just a short devotional, read over scripture and talk about it in the morning. That's kind of how it all started.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that sounds like that experience you had gave you permission,
exactly.
Right? And it also relieved you, but it gave you permission to know that I don't have to be compartmentalized. Like I'm one person, right?
Exactly.
And you could bring those 2 things into the workplace. Do you recall even your own experience where you had that as well, where you had that type of moment where you realized like because you started as a motivational speaker. You know, we had that story in the previous podcast, and you were talking about that. But when did you realize, like, I can do this for the gospel? I can do this for the Lord as well, or even in secular settings. You know, we spoke about that, where you're bold to bring your faith in the moments of Q&A, you know?
Yeah, so there's definitely dimensions where, first and foremost, I was not publicly telling any of my friends at school that I was a Christian. I didn't want to be seen as a Christian. Actually, a nerdy group would actually get together every Friday at lunch, and they kind of keep to themselves. And I didn't want to be associated with them. And becoming the vice president of the school at age 17, I had a speech in front of all 1,400 students. And it was a speech to encourage them. And the janitor saw me, and he said, "Would you come to a speech that I organize?" And, 5, 6 people, just to share your story. And my story is finding hope, but I really need to understand that, everyone needs hope and everyone has a story. And I didn't believe I had mine, and I didn't really believe that many people in the world needed hope either. It was just something that I thought this guy just, thought it was a good idea to do. And he persisted, and I didn't think much of it. He became so annoying. I did it to kind of please him and just get
him off your back.
Get him off my back. And then I just shared from my heart about how I was suicidal, how I was depressed, how I faced and got through anxiety, how I started to be thankful for what I did have, and realizing that God does have a plan, and he saved my soul, which is more than arms and legs. He gave me purpose, which is more than arms and legs. He gave me peace and joy that surpassed the whole circumstance of a disability or not. And I said it in ways that just related to them. And I was a teenager speaking to teenagers, being myself. And authentically, though, I realized, okay, I should be integrating my faith wherever I am. So as a school student, that was the first barrier that I realized, oh, wow, I really should be sharing more about my testimony to everyone who knows me. They see me smile. And everyone seems to be okay, but deep down, I realized at that point that not maybe everyone else is doing okay deep down, and they're looking for hope, and through a story and authentic exchange of a speech, in just transparent reflection, really. I think we're all looking for those spiritual answers, and so that was the first thing that I realized. And then I started preaching at youth groups and churches and stuff. But I didn't feel like it was just okay just to go to a church or a youth group where I can talk about my faith in those kind of places. But I wanted to go in places where you're not really seeing other people integrate their faith, at least in a personal way. Mm-hmm. And so that was a ministry covert operation, if you will, where I could go to countries where I'm not allowed to preach, and then waiting for the Q&A to come and the right question coming. And I could, in a personal way, during my speech, proclaim, I am a Christian, faith, love, and joy for me, and peace of what I've got is only because of my faith in God and reading the Bible. And in a personalized way, no one can argue with that. I'm not there preaching, trying to proselytize whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But if people want to know where I get my joy and my peace and my purpose, it's my faith in God. And so, but then how do you go into different parts of the world and going to corporate America and different corporate big venues? And so wherever you can, go and be that love and light and bring messaging of hope. And so we had 2 vehicles at that point. We had Nick V Ministries, which this is our 20th anniversary of our nonprofit organization. Awesome. Preached the gospel to 11 million people, and 1.8 million gave their life to Jesus Christ. And then Attitudes Altitude, which is a company that we've been able to go around the world to do motivational speeches. And that's a separate vehicle. And we've now used that name for an education initiative for young people. And so we're really encouraged to see more and more, if you will, people understanding what is what you're able to do in our country in these times, to talk about faith, to have verses up, to have prayer, to have devotionals. And I think with not just COVID, but the way that the world has been going, even these handful of years, I think mental health problems are continuing to increase. Attempts of suicide in corporate America are actually going up. Depression, antidepressant drugs, addictions to all sorts of things, broken marriages, broken homes. And so everyone's looking for hope. And so authentically knowing that there is no other hope but because of our faith in God, how do we be an extension instead of thinking of, oh, I need to one day invite them to church? That's the consuming mentality of, oh, if I can just get them to church, then see what happens. No, we are the church. We are the hands and feet. We are His light to shine through us. And so wherever we are, so should God be as well. And He is there, but He's like, well, will you speak? Yeah. Will you do? Will you act? Will you react in a way that brings more love in the world and potentially spurs on questions for those who are inquisitive along the way? That's a ministry.
Yeah, that's great. So what I'm catching from both the stories is that the Lord used two separate people in your guys' lives to, one, open the door to give you this idea of like, hey, you can be a speaker and share your story, and hey, you have permission to bring your faith into the business. And that's already like a smaller aspect of community, is that you didn't get there alone. You got there with someone ahead of you or someone already believing for you or opening that door. And I know we're going to get into the topic of community, and I want to give you a question that I did not give you beforehand, because I think it's just as crucial to get into this next question before we talk about community and the importance or how it played a role in your life. Is before you got into this idea of like, I want to build community, I want to go deeper into what you're doing now with 94X. It's what aspects of business, or how has, let's say, experiencing loneliness in business, because I'm assuming there's a point where an entrepreneur or a business person feels like, man, am I the only one going through this? I need help. Who do I go to? And I don't know. Have you ever experienced that loneliness, and what was that like? And how did you come out of it, even now in this place?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that is a stereotype, I think, of a lot of business owners, especially small business owners. It can be very lonely because your friends don't understand the business side of it, and you can't really talk to them about that. Your employees and stuff don't understand parts of it. And you have all these different groups, but each group doesn't understand. Like I said, there's even my spiritual group, and those people, they definitely didn't understand the business side of things. And so you really feel like you are alone a lot of times in these situations. And even though I felt alone, I didn't realize how alone I felt until I got into community. And it was like so refreshing, because I think as business owners, especially if you're starting a small business or building a small business, there's always that next thing to do. There's the next task. I'm a very first things first person. So I wake up and say, what's the most important thing I need to do today? What's my top 3 today? And everything else can kind of fade away. And so as you're building a business, if you're living that purposeful life of business, doing the first things first, that thought of finding a mentor or finding a community never gets to the top of the list. There's just too many things to do. Right. And so you look up and 5 years have gone by of you just waking up, doing the do, next day waking up, doing the do, and you can really get into that routine and that rut really easily, and it becomes isolating because you're the one that everything falls on. Right. You're the one that's, all the troubleshooting, if they can't figure it out here, it comes to you, and you've got to figure it out or make a pivot or something, and it's just you. You're the only one that can make that decision, and you're the only one that you can rely on if you don't have that mentorship or that community. And man, it's just so easy to not ever prioritize that because you think this next task is way more important. I've got to get that done today, and your task list is never done as you're building a business. There's always something to do. And so with that task list, always growing, always something to do until you to run into that person like I ran into, that allowed me to bring my spiritual life into. Until you run into that person and there's a crash, it's hard to break out of that. So hopefully with 94X, that community and things like this podcast can be a little bit of that crash. Like someone will hear this and be like, maybe I can pop out for a second and get that mentor, get that community. But it is lonely.
Yeah, definitely. Because so I've experienced some of that where you're saying as a youth pastor some years ago is that you're carrying the thing, you're leading the thing, and you're having to bring people with you in the thing. And then you realize who's around me that actually understands what I'm going through. And then your friends, the friends list is a lot shorter now, yeah. Right? And let's say, so we have, I'm sure we have entrepreneurs and business people or people who aspire to be. What was and I'm assuming that you started or you got that refreshing moment of community before social media was what it is right now. Because right now anybody can find it and be like, oh yeah, this guy's right. I need community, and they might be hearing this and feel like I need community. And I'm assuming that you did not have that. What was the spark for you that made you feel like I've been going at this alone for too long. I actually need community right now. And how would you even know it's community that you need, because it's like, it could have been anything else. I'm like, I need more money. Maybe somebody you could have thought that, so.
Yeah. Again, it was kind of that crash of that one person. So my best friend lived in Austin. I was living in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I would go down and visit him, and he had a community of entrepreneurs. And so he would invite me to their house or some of their events and stuff. And once I started talking to these other entrepreneurs, it clicks, you're like-minded. It's like, oh, we're speaking the same language. It was so refreshing and relaxing to be able to have the conversations we were having that I couldn't have with anyone else. In one of the communities, we talk about the top 5%, the bottom 5%, and then the other 90%. That 90% you can talk to your spouse about, you can talk to your accountant about, you can talk to an employee about, you can talk to a friend about. But what is those 5% of things that you can't talk to those people about? And the highs, maybe you do $1 million deal. Some friends you can't talk to that about because it's going to create an awkward situation. Or maybe there's someone's cheating on their spouse at work or something like that. That you can't really talk about that one publicly. So there's a community and a format of a community that allows you to have that. And so being around other business owners that had that community and they were speaking in this vulnerability that I hadn't seen before. A lot of times you get around other business owners without a real community like that, and they're all trying to show off in one way, or you can tell there's a mask on there. And these guys had no masks because they were used to how they acted in their small community. And even though I came in, I wasn't part of it, that was their language. And I was like, whoa, it's like coming up for breath. Like, wow, I can breathe in here. I can feel more comfortable in here. And so that was the emphasis of me opening my mind to community and putting it at the top of the priority list. Before it was like, yeah, that'd be great. I wish I had a community. Oh, I'd love to have mentors, but it never reached the top of the list. When you experience a little bit of it, then it went way to the top of the list. Like, I want this in my life.
Because I'm assuming you were seeing the benefits of those people being in that circle, in that group together. Right. I'm assuming it was also probably even scary. Just like, not only are you speaking my language, you're speaking in vulnerable ways exactly. that I only imagine or want to, but I don't even know how to yet. So. Yeah.
And at that point, I was just barely successful enough in my business to be accepted or invited into that community. So there's that vulnerability of, well, it's like, oh, I'm the small fry in this situation now. But once I got in, then it was exponential after that, because you're surrounding yourselves with these people that have been there and done that and have all this great experience to share. And then you get all the benefits of the community that we'll probably be talking about today. But going in, it can be a little nerve-wracking at first.
Right. So I think we'll get into that now, because the question I have for you is, like, what role has community played in your personal journey as an entrepreneur? So just getting it more specific, what have been, let's say, the top 3 benefits that you've seen just getting deeper into community as an entrepreneur?
Top 3. So one is, what they say, mentorship is using someone else's hindsight as your foresight type of thing. So there's so many people in the community that have been there and done that. And so just by them sharing their experiences, it just makes it flow so much easier. It's so easy to just do it on your own, because it's not like you reach a point in your business before community where you don't know the next step to take. Like I said, there's always a next step. There's always a task you can take. And so you just take it and you're just working task. But when you get in the community, then it starts to give you clarity on, oh, maybe that's not the best task. Maybe, you can have a bigger vision with this, and this. And so those next tasks, you get to learn through someone else's failures and successes and experiences. And so you get some really good feedback. So with that, you just get exponential growth, where I was kind of growing like a straight line, but once I got into community and started using it, we also say you get out what you get in. So you can get in a community and not get anything out of it. If you're not putting in and giving as much as you can with your experiences, then you create those relationships and they give you more. So it's a very, very much a give and take in community. You don't just join and get the benefits. You really have to engage in the community. But once I engaged really well, then I got the exponential growth of the business. But then it was also the personal side, and some of these groups I've been in, they talk about these are my pallbearers now, because you're getting into a group that allows you to be yourself and allows you to be so vulnerable and allows you to touch on these topics that you don't have with anyone else. It kind of cycles. If one person opens up, then that next person's like, oh, I guess I have the freedom to open up. And then the next person, then it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And it can either cycle with everyone getting closed up if that's the culture going on, or it can cycle with everyone opening up. And as everyone else opens up, you just get so deep into each other's lives that it can become family. And so that was one thing is, the business side's great, but just the relationships and support in life. All of these communities that I've gotten into and have been so beneficial, it's been not just what the community is about. It's like once you get into a good community, it becomes the whole person. People care about you. You start building those relationships where, you really care about each other, and that just takes it to the next level. So that's one, is just that support of, I know I'm not alone in this. I have a group to go to. If it's what they say, someone that'll bury the body with you. Those type of communities they have your back no matter what. And when you get into communities, especially small groups of these larger communities, you can get that. So the business, and then the support, and then access. That's another thing that I thought was really interesting with this group that I'm talking about, is just that 7 degrees type of access to other people, other things, other experiences. There was just a lot more access that I would have never had in my little cave building my business. It opens your eyes to a lot more things and gives you access to a lot more things.
That's awesome. That's so great. So let me ask you, because there's something that he mentioned that I want to go back to in a bit, but I know that you've had coaches. You've had business coaches, and I had the privilege of meeting one and working alongside you and her. But then you've also had this not so public and very unofficial group of brothers that you would get on Zoom with on a weekly basis. And you had that type of vulnerability and just praying one another and just bringing each other into each other's lives. Like, what have been the benefits of you having that, and now coming in also to 94X, and I mean, help us and help maybe our audience, or help me understand the difference in what you saw from like having a coach versus having a group of brothers or a group of community.
Well, first and foremost, for anybody who has a vocation or a company or a startup entrepreneur, it's always in our mind to, as much as we can, glean any wisdom we can from anyone who's gone ahead of us, to tactfully look at where we're at and give us feedback on where we're at. But really, I think we're not just business minded, but we're spiritually, mentally, and emotionally driven. It's not just having the vision and the goal of achieving something. It's actually that being and achieving that go hand in hand, where when we go to church, we've got this mentality. I'm at the church, and I can invite someone to church, and they're looking for something of some kind of goal of being in the spiritual realm. So someone that lives in hope, someone that understands peace, someone that can get counseling, someone that can get emotional support, community, friendship, helping them know if they need counseling, or trying to actually figure out what their gifts and their talents are, to figure out what's my purpose, why am I here? These are the elements of every human being, whether you're in business or not. And when you understand that you're a spiritual being with emotional needs, thoughts and feelings, and a longing to belong, a tendency to isolate yourself when you shouldn't be, we're made for community. Mm-hmm. We're made for a fullness of life in emotional, psychological, and spiritual wellness. And so it's really easy to compartmentalize our lives in different buckets. But really, we're a spiritual being wherever we go. What we say, what we do, what we feel, what we think are seen by people who look at us, whether they're our employees or not. And so that's when you look at my everyday purpose, my everyday existence, where the fact that I'm a Christian and who that makes me to be should make me that person wherever I am. Whether that's for my spouse, for my kids, for my friends, in the workplace, in the community that I live. And unfortunately, as an evangelist, I've gone around the world and preached the gospel to 11 million people, and you wonder what happens to them afterward. Mm-hmm. Because you do need community from a spiritual sense, and encouragement of your heart and your mind. The younger people need mentorship, role models, values, attitudes. I heard the tragedy of a Bible college graduating students, and the dean of the school saying, now all these people that graduate from this theological school actually still need a moral subject on morality. I'm like, well, wait a second. How do you even... So it's like head knowledge, identity versus being a Christian, and having the ability and freedom that in whatever place we are of influence in the world, whether you are a speaker or an author or a podcaster or a CEO, employer, and even fellow employee, where you won't even feel like you have a leadership role, we're all leaders and we all make impact with someone. That's what Chris, the coach, always said. You can't have an interaction with a human being without some kind of reaction. Either it's positive or negative. It's never neutral. That's how God made us here on earth. So then in that, the satisfaction of life, well, we compartmentalize that too. Family is this, the kids are this, here are my goals. My goals are my fulfillment for this. If I can just get this amount of money, this amount of success, and have my life line up, then I can say I've achieved something. And when I've achieved something, then I feel like I'm more of value. Well, we know that your value has nothing to do with your position or your money or your vocation, and you are a spiritual being. How incredibly empowering and releasing of chains that we don't even feel are on us, in understanding that life is not as complicated as it needs to be. You have your gifts and your talents and you have a vision. Great, go start a business. Great, be an employer. But don't forget to be a beautiful human being that makes the world a better place. And when you realize that that's your greatest ultimate purpose, love God, love other people. When you can make the world a better place, that means that you can't just see your employees and your work and P&L and balance sheet, but you got to realize that you need friendship, real friendship, family, where you can encourage one another. What do you say to an employee who loses her husband in a car crash? Well, you want that, hey, we're here for you, but what does that look like? Does she need counseling? Do they need another, do they need a bridge of any finances? Do they need some friends? Maybe put her in a widow's group that is encouraging and community. It's always going back to your spirit, your mind, and your soul. And so wherever we we need to continue to grow. And so my disappointment, unfortunately, is that as an evangelist, I've seen many churches that don't have community. They really don't have those conversations. They don't have counseling. They can sometimes write the checks. They can say, hey, we'll go give you meals, but there's no sense of community. I see you there on Sunday. I give you a hug. Good to see you. God bless you. How are you? I'm good. I'm praying for you. You're like, no, you just lied out your teeth in church. No, it's really having that community, and it's not a consumerism mentality. It's being that community. And so the geniusness of integrating faith into the workplace in a country called America, where under the Constitution you can voluntarily talk and opt into a discussion, a safe place to talk about faith, to read the Bible, to encourage one another, to share what you're feeling. You can't assume that everyone's okay just because they're not crying. You can't assume that everyone's got it all together. They don't. None of us do. And we need each other. And so that whole incredible story of how Sean Copeland founded 94X and that book 94X, that really was a simple book of just simply saying, God, this is too big of a problem for me. This company is at a T intersection. We're at a dead end. If you save this company, I will dedicate everything I am and every part of this business and company back to you, bringing glory to you. And he was one of the first that I've known of that actually integrated faith in the workplace in such a beautiful, respectful, honoring, loving, authentic, sincere way that also displayed the power of miracles that God does want to do in every single company if he just was allowed in the company. And so prayer requests, miracles, undeniable miracles, people being able to celebrate your miracle. You didn't get yours, I'll continue to pray with you. What else can I pray for you for or believe with you for? And that is what is missing in the world. It's the family of God. So it's not just a four-wall building called the church. We are the church. So wherever we are, if you're in the workplace, what greater way to be a minister of the gospel, encouraging mentor, a friend, a member of a community that does care authentically and does want to see you succeed. And keep your heart humble and eyes on God. Like it's like compartmentalized. It's absolutely integrated and woven in your DNA. And last thing, I love the title, 94X. What's 94X for those of you who don't know? We spend 94 more times at a 9-to-5 job during the week than the handful of hours we spend weekly at a church. And so what is our mission field? We can write a check as CEOs. We can, think about mission trips here and there. This is our mission field. This is our family. My greatest ministry is my family, my friends, and then everyone that I'm with every day. And so who better to impart encouraging community, faith-based initiation of, hey, let's talk. Let's be real. Let's take the masks off. And let's share what's going on. It's like, that's the greatest gift that God's given us, each other.
So one of the things that he hit on that has really been hitting home and has become our mantra in 94X as we're building these different communities and building these different groups for leaders or others is, faith in the workplace is out there, bringing church into the workplace is out there, but we're really hammering on the motto of being church in the workplace, being the church, each individual. And so that's a big part of that community is how to do that. And as you're around others and they're speaking that language of actually walking around being the church, because you can bring a devotional in, you can, have prayer and do these different things and have, different campaigns and different programs, but to really have that community of everyone supporting everyone on how to be the church with those that are walking beside you in your 9-to-5 or wherever you're putting your hand to the plow each day. It's the heartbeat of 94X.
That's so good. So let me ask you this, because I'm going to put you on the spot now for this question, and then also get Nick's thoughts. Like, because we say that a lot, right? And we say it, but I think we forget it, and we forget to walk it out. Is that we don't go to church; we are the church, right? Now, let's say if you can give me 2 points, I'm just gonna make it really easy. 2 points on what does that practically look like that we are the church? Because we say that, But what does it mean that you as a business owner, businessman, entrepreneur, you walk into a business, your business, and you are the church? What is that? How does that flesh out in a practical daily way that you, Clay, are the church?
Yeah. So one is, I think as a business owner, we do need to give space, give opportunities for the communications and for opening up that space for it, which is the devotionals and the prayer requests and those different programs that you can have in there just to allow the conversation. And then there's going to that next level of, like you said, I'll pray for you. It's much better to, hey, can I pray for you right now? So that's way more meaningful, right? And it happens right then, and it's creating a bond, and you're really, they're going to have to be vulnerable to open up to you, to allow you to pray, and then and you're showing your vulnerability, because if you're praying authentically, it's giving them a snapshot into your life with God, right? It's like you're inviting them into that conversation, because at that point, if you're being authentic, you're just talking to God and just having a conversation with them, and they're getting to hear that. So that really opens that up. But another way, I think one of my employees actually showed me this instead of me showing them this, or me offering this ability up to them. But in the beginning, as a business owner, I felt like, just like with the spiritual life and the business life, there was kind of a wall there, and how to break that wall down. I also felt the same between my employees. It's like, I'm your boss, you're the employee, there has to be this wall there. And if I break down this wall, and I've had it before where I've broken down the wall, and it happens early on, and the lower that wall goes down, the more opportunity for disrespect, because they can be casual around you.
Yeah.
And if another employee sees them being casual, then they can be casual and not in a good way, and then it messes up your influence on them, and it gets messy. And so
then there's favoritism.
Yeah. And I read a book one time about this situation, and it was so good, about the relationship between us and God. The higher the respect we have for God, the closer we can get to God, and the more of a friendship and more of a vulnerability you can have with God. And it's the same with boss employee. So I realized that those employees that were super respectful, we could have a really tight friendship, because I knew that we had that balance. The more respect they gave me, the more vulnerable I could be, the more I could allow them into my life, invite them to personal events at home and stuff like that. And so in my company, we would have kind of trainings on that to let them know the more you can respect the position. I'm no better than you in any aspect at all, but God put me in this position, you're in this position. If we respect each other's position, then we can become closer and closer as friends, and you can have that camaraderie. So I had one employee that just treated me like a friend from the beginning, and for some reason, the way I was brought up, I always felt that wall between my managers and bosses and stuff, where I just wouldn't break that wall of familiarity.
Yeah.
But he broke that wall, and then just me learning through stubbing my toe and experiences, realize, why does it work sometimes, and why does it not work, and why does it work with this employee but it doesn't work with this employee? And I read that book, and it all started clicking, how it works, when it works, and how it can work. So that's one great thing of being able to have that vulnerability with as many employees as you can, but it's your responsibility to train them in how to make that happen. This is the relationship I want with all of you guys. This is how to have that relationship. And if we can, have that communication, then we can get closer and closer and closer. And I've, he's become one of my best friends through that, which I never would have expected.
That's awesome. So the three things that I'm hearing is making a space, being intentional, and being vulnerable, right? Because the intentionality opens the door for vulnerability. And then, the verse that comes to mind as you're talking about that book and the closeness and the reverence is Psalm 25:14, where it says that friendship with God is for those who fear Him.
Yes,
and
exactly.
to them He makes known their covenants.
Yes,
it's like another version of it says that to them He makes known His secrets. It's like He brings them in closer.
Yep,
That's what you're talking about. It's like that like, I love you, I fear you, I have reverence for you, and He's like, you're my friend, come closer, and then He'll tell you His secrets. Like, so with that being said, what have been? I'm trying to remember the question. Oh, the church, being the church, like in practical ways, what has that looked like for you? Because I think people could say, or I could even say, like it might be easy because let's say in your ministry context, everybody's there believers, but that doesn't mean that you should lack the witness of the Lord just because it's like, well, everyone's saved. I can be a little bit more casual about it, right? Like that's not true at all. So what would you say are like two ways that you are the church in your workplace?
It's even more intensifying when you're actually a ministry or a church with employees that expect the cadence to be reacting really quick. And unfortunately, there are ministries and churches and the operations, if I could say it this way, where it's almost hyperactive, hypersonic, and hyper-reactive, sometimes overreactive. And everyone loves each other so much that we're oversensitive sometimes. And it's exhausting sometimes, where you have people who really care. And I think we love everyone, but I think we're oversensitive about our personality makeup, where we look at each other. Once we know each other more, like one of the exercises that we do is, what's your personality type? And are you highly relational? Are you highly, it's the DISC, that Chris gave us. And every time I now, though, realize why, some people might react to something differently than it's because how God's wired them and understanding them. And each employee is really important, where they came from, what they're used to, what they expect. And so I've never had issues of people respecting or disrespecting. It's been funny with even dynamics, though, of having employees who are my cousins. Mm-hmm. And so when you bring in family and then different people and the dynamics, I mean, we've seen a lot, and then the complexities of a board versus operations versus execution. None of it is easy to lead a company. But wherever we are, we just do our best. And we sometimes there's an elephant in the room that needs to be said and exclaimed. And it's funny how you have to keep on reminding the culture within that community. If there is something you'd like to talk about, let's talk about it. Don't chit-chat, right? And that's a hard thing. There's a lot of chatter. No matter where you are, no matter what company you have, Christian or not, there's a lot of chatter. And so how do you keep it professional and as clean as you can and real and authentic as you can? It's you showing your vulnerability as a leader, not pretending that you know something you don't, or pretending that you see the clear path. Let's do this together. I need you, you need me. We're all a team together. And that unified, though, sense of, the leader does admit that we don't exactly know what's happening this year. This is a big shift. That did really affect our company, that, AI and whatever else. Okay, we're pivoting with this and that. What I do love about this is they see the most authentic resilience come out of you in more difficult times. And they think that because we're leaders, we've got it all together, we got our heads screwed on right, we got it right, and we'll continue to get it right. No, we'll be the first to say, first and foremost, the only real CEO of this company is Jesus Christ. And so us trying to unify and then seek his face together. You can tell when a whole team is praying. You can tell when the employees are praying or not, and they're praying for you or not. I think that's what's the difference. It's bringing the veils down. It's making sure that the main thing remains the main thing. knowing we're all human, we're all different, we're all going to react to different things, political polarization and different things that are happening. Do we mention anything? Do we not mention anything? How much do you say? What shouldn't you say? Wow, what an environment we've never seen in our lives in the last 5-7 years. But with God's wisdom and clarity because of honesty and vulnerability, hey, I'm just like you. We're in this together. You report to me, but I don't see you as any less valuable or less important in the company. And so that's the cadence I think that we need to keep in. And I'm not afraid. I haven't been afraid that in different settings where there's no Christians in the room, hey, we're going to pray. Hey, I can say the G word. You don't like it, you can ask me, but I'll tell you, God is in my vocabulary. He is with me, and I'm praying for the deal and the situation and praying for God's favor. And that's when you realize that whether the deal comes through or not, that deal, that moment, God was glorified. And so I know my answer was kind of all over the place, but it's a complicated dynamic, going from a pastor to an operations CEO or evangelist and then coming on the inside. We all have ups and downs. Every organization has ups and downs. But wherever we are, all it is you're telling everyone, championing them on, do the best with what you have. Love the Lord with all your heart, might, soul, and strength, and everything you do may bring glory to Him. And when that perspective changes, like, oh yeah, we're in this together, God's our captain, and I just got to do my part. And if I feel something, say something. You need to talk, let's talk. There's just that authentic, unified sense that, yep, we sometimes don't know what's going on. We need each other, but let's all do our best. Let's put our shoulders to the plow.
So good.
We keep coming back to that word, authenticity, and he hit on a couple of things that, one, he was talking about you didn't use the word, but the culture, building a certain culture in your company. And one of the great things that we built in our company was the culture of being able to disagree and have arguments. And it comes from the top because a lot of leaders feel like they have to know it all, like we have to have the answers. But really, all you have to be is the tiebreaker. If we don't know which way to go, all right, I'm going to make the decision. We're going to go this way, but let them know if it doesn't work, all right, we can pivot later. So we built that culture in of being open to everyone's ideas and listening and letting everyone have their viewpoints. And usually the whole group is going to kind of land. If everyone gets to speak up and give all the information, usually everyone's on board. And if not, then the leader's like, I'm in this position, I have to make this call, flip coin or whatever, I've got to make the decision. But by building that culture of we can talk about anything and argue, and you can argue against me, I want you to argue against me because I always just want all the information. And so I'm going to give you what I think. And if you're seeing something that's amiss, tell me so I can dial in, and I'll either convince you or you convince me.
Or you agree to disagree.
Yeah.
On some aspects.
And building that culture, and I think leaves it open for all the political talk and the spiritual talk, where we have a culture of it's okay to disagree. We built that culture in, and we're learning from each other, and it's okay to disagree. So that kind of gives just the freedom of not having to worry about all that other stuff, because on the business side, we built that culture in. And then you mentioned family members. I hired my cousin, and it got to the point where I was going to have to let him go, and everyone's watching, right? What's Clay going to do in this situation? Can he make the hard decisions? And by letting him go, just like I would anyone else, I saw that really help the culture quite a bit and increase their respect of my decision making of, I'm going to make the best decision for the company no matter what. He'll make the hard decisions. And so making those decisions, everyone's always watching. They might not talk to you about it, but they're watching those decisions. And if you can make the right decision and the hard decisions, it really helps the culture. And then the other thing that you mentioned I was going to emphasize was those personality tests. I've got a file folder of somewhere between 10 and 20 personality tests that me and my employees have taken, so I can always go back and look at the different ones. And one of them was so cool. Once we took the test and went through the program, they gave us these foam Lego blocks, and on each Lego block, it was a different color, and on each one, it was a different personality. So 4 different Lego blocks, 4 different personality types. You have the hard driver, you have the more of the person that likes to be on stage, you have the analytical person, and then you have the caregiver, and those type of personalities. I can't remember the exact names for them. But you had those blocks after you took the personality test, and so they would give you your personality in order. So mine was the blue analytical, then the red driver, and then the green caretaker, and then the flamboyant one was the last one. So as you walked in someone's office, you could see and be reminded of what their personality traits were. And it really clicked into me. This goes back to being the church, that when I would walk in and see the employee that had them flipped, that employee needed me to give space for us to talk for a little bit before I came in. Hey, where are we at with this? What's this? I need this, this, and this, right? And so after that test, I would walk in and just casually talk to him, and I would know I would have to give 5 to 10 extra minutes for every meeting we had because of that personality, which I hated to do because I just wanted to go. And everyone that came into my office, they saw the opposite, and they knew, just the facts, ma'am. Just give me the facts. Get in, get out. And we started dealing with each other like that, and it changed the culture. Wow. And it's just knowing the people and how, we talk about the golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated. And I don't believe in that. It's the platinum rule of treat them like they want to be treated. So that clicked in of, if I treated everyone like I want to be treated, everyone would think I was a jerk because I just want in and out, in and out. But I knew that he needed some personal stuff. He needed some communication, and how was your weekend stuff. So I went to the platinum rule versus the golden rule, and it changed the culture with that too.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that reminds me of just like there's so many passages in the New Testament that the New Testament writers say, pray for one another, carry each other's burdens, and heal one another, forgive one another. And there's so many things. And I've said this in the past. It's like, you can't one another yourself. Like, you need somebody else, right? Like you need, I know that sounds weird, but it's so true. You can't one another yourself. It's like, you need somebody to do that with you. And, I'm going to add this little parentheses here just because I feel it's important to bring it up. And then we'll go back to the community aspect is that, what I'm also seeing in between the lines from what you guys are saying is like there's an accountability that comes with bringing God into the workplace, inviting him in and making that space, especially if you're the business owner and the entrepreneur, is because the way I see it is this, is that you've probably heard this phrase before. It's like we're living in a fish tank and everybody sees you, especially those that are not believers. They're looking at your life. And then the reason why I said the accountability piece, because years ago, as an employee at a specific business, everybody around me was not saved, and they were living very, just living in sin and living and doing things in the break room with each other and doing all these things. And I eventually told one of them that I'm a Christian, that I'm saved. Like I think at that point it was probably like a year and a half. And there was this, because I'm brand new, there was this fear of me of like, if I bring that up, then I won't be able to mess around and fool around. I won't be able to do these things because now there's going to be a different lens on me, right? I'm so glad that happened because now I have that accountability. We're like, well, Gus is a Christian. Let's see this. But at the same time, it was so strange because those that were not, they realized like, oh, he treats. I remember this. The girls would be like, oh, he treats us different than the other guys, and that made them like me more, which was so strange. And I was like, and that wasn't helpful at all. So I'm what I'm getting at is like, how has accountability played a role? Not just in those areas as men, because those areas are real and we can't deny that those things and those what's called those vulnerabilities or even attacks, you can even call them sometimes, I wouldn't say all the time, exist, but just the accountability aspect, like in the workplace of people looking at you and bringing you in because you said your employee is doing that. But how has that played a role with either one of you, Clay, if you want to start, like the accountability aspect? Because I can only imagine how much more pressure that would be you as being the one at the top.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, but we're still looking to you, you know, like, because there's both aspects. There's the, you're my boss, but at the end of the day, you're also my brother. Like in the family of God, you're my brother. And it's like, if anything that you can like enlighten us or share with me personally is like, how has accountability as the family of God in the workplace played out for you?
Yeah. I think, that's a big thing of 94X is helping people with not worrying about bringing this into your business as much. It's like you're get to come to a community of others that have done it and have had experiences, and there's even teachings and courses and stuff in there to help you with all this. But in the beginning, I remember it being extremely anxiety ridden with how do I be this person? I wanted to integrate my whole life, but it does bring a whole new level of responsibility, and it can be scared. So I think there's two sides of it. One, it's awesome. People, I think, use that word accountability in such a negative way. It's like no one wants accountability. It's like if you're held accountable, it's a negative thing. But if you can switch your mind on that, accountability can be a superpower. It can give you extra time and energy. So like right now, if there's a project or something that does not fit with my giftings, or I don't flow in really well, but I need to get it done, I just set a meeting of, all right, I'm going to meet with this person and I have to have this homework done by the time I meet with them. Having that accountability gives me extra energy, which feels like extra time before that, because of that, I've got to get this done. I'm not going to disappoint someone. I'm not going to look bad in front of them. And so if you think of it that way of, I need some extra energy this week, set up these pieces of accountability, man, it can really be a superpower. So I try to do that as much as possible, putting those things in my schedule as much as possible to get that extra energy, because we could all use a little extra time, a little extra energy. So if you can switch your mind about accountability, that helps a lot of using that to be who you want to be, to get to where you want to get. But there's also that side of it of just worrying about, am I enough? Do I know enough? How do I do this? I've never done this before. And that fear of, now I'm accountable for this being a biblically based company, a biblically based culture. Am I going to make all the right decisions? And to me, that side, and this, I think it came more natural for me, but I think it's harder for other people if you're not naturally vulnerable and transparent and authentic. To learn and grow in that is hard, but I think it's really worth that growth of allowing yourself to be more and more vulnerable. And it escalates. The more you do it, the easier it is, and you can really flow in and a lot easier. But if you're just vulnerable with everyone there and transparent about, I'm a believer, but that doesn't mean anything besides I have these beliefs and I'm growing and growing in this direction. Yeah. And I would love to invite you in and to be with me on the journey and to learn with me. But if you have any questions, if I don't know the answers, that's an awesome time for us to both go learn together. And I'll go do my study, you do your study, and let's figure it out together. But if you can think of it more as we're all on a journey and inviting people into that journey, and you're open to all these questions, and being able to say, I don't know, but I would love to find out with you, and let's work on that together. Or I'll get back to you. But having that as more of the culture of let's find out together, and I think that helps relieve that negative feeling of accountability.
That's great. That's super helpful, because I think for many years, I maybe not so much now, but I think you had a language that I've approached the word accountability with, like, I'm in trouble because I'm going to be in trouble but I think even in that sense, I think that even adds also to the healthy fear of, like, I'm going to set a deadline with my boss. I'm going to set a deadline with my partner. I'm going to set a deadline and do these things. And I'm just using deadline, but I'm sure it could play out in other ways as well, where it's like, it's that healthy fear of, like, I have to show up and present what I've done or how far I've gotten and so on. And that's been helpful for me, working alongside with Nick, and just knowing Nick doesn't give me deadlines, not all the time, but sometimes I'm like, I got to put them on myself. Yeah. And I'm like, I got to have this done, or I will have this done by this day, and so on. And so I have to follow through and so on. But that's also helpful, because there's grace on the other side when we're doing that, and I've experienced that. So let me ask you this last question, and unless you wanted to share on that, please.
I do.
Yeah, please,
So
please.
number one, our board has a spiritual CEO soul care program, where now it's becoming a policy with so many faith leaders that do not have accountability, that really should be there for their own righteousness and accountability before the Lord. And so that's when you take off the kimono with nothing hidden and full transparency between myself and a board member that I trust and I confide in. Different circumstances in life, personal things, family things, struggles spiritually. There are so many of us that silently think that we can just keep a secret to ourselves and we'll just figure it out, and one day that's going to go away. Well, first and foremost, before the Lord, a righteous accountability, it's the most freeing thing ever. It is the most debilitating thing ever to hold a secret, or unforgiveness, or whatever, dealing with an addiction. 1 in 5 men, whether they go to church or not, deal with pornographic addiction. You've got alcoholism. You've got emotional affairs going on, real affairs too. And when you are a child of God, and you're my brother, and iron sharpens iron, we want to make sure that we are being the city on the hill, to show that there is that ability of self-control. Not perfect righteousness, no one's perfect, but the hunger and thirst to be righteous is this fuel of itself. Reading the Bible is a fuel of itself. Guarding your heart, putting on your armor on every day, knowing that there are spiritual wars that we do have to go into. And unfortunately, there's a lot of Christian people out there who lead companies who feel alone and can't talk about this or that in a trustworthy sense, accountability sense, camaraderie sense, where we don't have to lead alone. It does get lonely at the top, and there are some times where I can absolutely confide everything in my wife, and there's nothing I'm not saying to my wife, but there are things that I'm going to tell my best friend that I talk to every second week. I'm going to tell him some other feelings and thoughts that I'm going through that I feel more comfortable telling him as my brother in Christ than my wife. I don't want her burdened or whatever. And what's so awesome is when God tells me to do something, and I'm so moved to even share it with my family, to my surprise, by the grace of God, God uses my sons to remind me of what I said is going to happen. And so I know it doesn't make sense here, but in the context of this, it could be little things, it could be big things. For me, 2025 was a really painful year. 2025 was a really painful transitional year to 2026. And I told my son during the time of our vacation in 2024, Daddy's not going to be leaving your side much more. I want to be at home. Because I felt like I needed to be accountable to making sure that I'm not just a business person, I'm not just an evangelist, I'm not just trying to do what I can for my wife, and our own relationship is beautiful and vibrant, and we're actually going out on another date tonight. Nice. And we ask each other every every month 3 questions. Honey, what am I doing that you want me to stop doing? Honey, what am I not doing you want me to start doing? And honey, what am I doing well that you want me to keep on doing? There's accountability for that relationship between me and her. And the kids, though, I just know it just eats me up. It eats me up. I don't need someone to remind me of what I didn't do yet for my son. I mean, it kills me. And I can leave a document for 6 weeks sitting on a shelf, and I know people are chewing on my neck. I'm like, I'll get to that. but knowing that, the accountability in every area of your life is unto God. And so whether that's in leadership, in just living. I think there's a lot of disabilities that we live with from day to day that we don't really need to, just because we lack accountability. And we don't get accountability because we think we're just about to get punished. It's going to be painful. Here's the problem. If you have an infection, you need to clean the infection. You don't clean that infection, it's going to kill you. It'll catch up with you. You can suppress it. You can bury it. You can make it secret for as long as you wish. But one day, it's going to come up. And it's going to come up in a way, it's going to manifest in a way you don't want, you never expected, time you won't expect. And you're going to lose everything. And so before the Lord, it's you being under the shadow of his wing and having his hand of protection over you. Whether you're a poor man, rich man, businessman, or homeless, it doesn't matter. It's understanding that you need to follow God in accountability, in your own righteousness, and then with the stewardship of your family, and then everybody else that you're responsible with and doing life with. And so even more so as a pastor, and faith leader. And so it's sad to see so many people fall, and the repercussion of that. There aren't a lot of people finishing strong these days. Yeah. So that's that spiritual side of accountability too.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And so I think for our listeners and our viewers, I don't want you to miss what's happening. So full disclosure, the three of us are part of 94X Life in the community. And as of right now, Clay and Nick have been coaching and been doing that. And some of us on the team are going to be joining in on some of those impromptu trainings or webinars and so on. But 94X in and of itself is not brand new, but the community is fairly new. So where it stands right now, tell us and invite our viewers into what are the things that you're looking forward to that 94X is about to give birth to or is actually trying to cultivate. Because, we're talking about very serious things. We're talking about very things that help us grow, things that help us go deeper. I think those are all very important things. And I think to some extent we're talking about it because we also want to find ways to cultivate that within 94X, but in your own ways and words, what are the things that you're looking forward to that 94X is about to give?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. So again, it's helping people be the church wherever they're putting their hands to the plow, right? And so we want to be able to give you the tools to do that no matter who you are. And so we're going to have different places for community, for business owners, for business professionals, whether you're sales, real estate, insurance, anyone that is out there, doing the do. We've got a place for you, and then everyone else. And so we're segmenting those out. But you can just join the community right now at 94xlife.com. And we're also doing chapters. So we're going to have a chapter in every major city in the nation. And so we're spreading nationwide right now and then worldwide with Nick. I'm excited about where this is going to go after that. But we're spreading out nationwide with the chapters and then with the roundtables. And the roundtables are free. So you can get into any of these small groups. We've been talking about community. These are those small groups where you can get around like-minded people. And we will help you find the group that's right for you, get in that group, be able to enjoy the benefits of community that we've talked about today in these roundtables. And that's kind of a free, easy in and an easy start. Those are going to be all over the nation as well and then go worldwide. So free roundtables, get into your chapter or start a chapter in your community would be awesome. And then the online community at 94xlife.com.
Beautiful. So 94xlife.com, this is where you can join the community and get plugged into this way. So now give us the invitation now. Who is the summit for? Specifically the one in Oklahoma. I think it's at the end of October.
Yes.
What is that? What is it? Who is it for? And where can we find more information on that?
Yeah, so the summit is October 28th in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that is for business leaders. And so that is going to be an amazing time to get together with like-minded leaders in business, a great time of worship and learning and experience share And it's that edification of hearing about others that have done it and experienced the miracles that can happen when you bring the church into your workplace. And so, again, go to 94xmovement.com for that one, and you'll find the summit there.
And that's a very powerful event. I mean,
because you're sharing it.
This is my third time going, and I'm sharing there as well. And the most incredible testimonies I've ever heard. I mean, just business people that shared the difficult times, the miracles through those times. And you're just blown away. It was one of the most inspiring summits I've ever been to and been a part of. And from the first time I met Sean and the team and Clay, it's just like, oh man, these are my people. It's almost like my spirit leapt, and man,
that's
it was
exactly what happened. I was about to say, Nick's pretty calm today in that summit. The way he brings the fire is unbelievable. It's something you really you don't want to miss. It's so exciting.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be my first one. So.
Oh, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. You'll be inspired finally by me. No, it's honestly something that I really encourage everyone to come along. It's going to be moving, challenging, and it's real, man. It's just real, and a great time of worship and celebrating, knowing that we are in a country we can learn about how to integrate our faith and share the miraculous stories along the way.
We'll have speakers like Nick, Jim Stovall, but also just business owners, and that's been people. Amazing. Everyday business owners and the miracles that happen in their business. You're like, that's really happening in a bank, or it's really special to see.
Yeah. Sweet. So 94xlife.com is the community, and 94x movement for the summit in Oklahoma, October 28th. You said right? Great. And I again, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be my first one. I'm looking to be inspired by Nick. And will you be sharing, or will you be leading one of the trainings or webinars or small groups?
I'll be in the back row. I'm nervous enough being in front of these cameras. I'm not getting on a stage. No, sir.
Which is what I was going to say also to end this, because you're not on socials. You're in the community. Like if somebody wants access to Clay and your history and your experience, as well as even with Nick, it's in the community. That's going to be the best place for you guys to find out more about Clay. So Clay, thank you so much for joining us, for being here with us. So again, 94xlife.com to join the community, 94xmovement.com to get into the summit. And if you haven't already done so, again, subscribe, follow us, and join us more for these types of conversations as we go in deeper. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.
Love you.